How's it going, team? Welcome to episode 5 of our discussion series. Today's topic is training with or post injury. So this could be any injury. We'll go into some more specific injuries that we know of, but otherwise what your training should involve and how it should progress going forward within it.
Just a disclaimer, neither of us are doctors, so this is going to be based on what we've seen work and based on our own experiences, as well as our specific areas of study and skills as well. So we don't want to be misleading too much.
We don't want you to say, oh, I saw this on a video,
hurt myself.
Yeah. No. We're just suggestions or things that have worked for us, or other people that we know. Any injuries for you?
No.
You've been quite lucky, haven't you?
Not really. I mean, we all get niggles and stuff and things that are a bit of a slight setback, but nothing that's put me out for ages.
Yeah, I've got this chronic knee injury.
Yeah. What have you been doing for that?
Stretching, funny enough. Well, I took quite a long time off doing a lot of heavy stuff and was trying to do a lot of rehabby things. I actually found that spin helped quite a lot, like cycling helped a lot for my knee injury. Low impact. But
no impact.
No impact, yeah. And then seeing Laurel, I think actually helped a lot.
Yeah, so
massage.
Again, that goes back to our recovery video.
So I just think sorting like the issue out, but then also strengthening around it.
Yeah.
So when I came, January last year, just before lockdown happened, I started doing things heavier again.
Yeah.
And I haven't really had a lot of pain since.
It's important to know what your limitations are.
Yeah,
and then how to safely load the tissues and the muscles and the joints to still get movement and still get blood flow, etc., with no pain. Because there's no point if you've got an injury and you're just going to say, well, I'm not going to do anything. That's going to probably make it worse. Because you want movement and you want functionality in the joint and the muscle, etc.
It's not doing anything, is it?
No, exactly. And the more blood you can put in it, if it's say it's a muscle tear or even a rupture of the tendons, you want to pump the shit out of that with blood. Because that's where
get recovery into
exactly.
It,
rather than just not doing anything and letting it heal by itself.
Oh, yeah.
No. If you're going to let it heal by itself, you're going to be waiting so much longer.
I think what I found was, as you said, find what your limitation is.
Without pain.
Yeah. And like what I found for me was I do a lot of more strength training now because I can work in that rep range. A lot of reps. Like I noticed in lockdown 3 is that, I called my spare room Rep City.
Yeah.
And that's probably when I started feeling knee pain again. Because I was doing a lot of body weight work, a lot of reppage, and it was just putting through my knee through pain. And then once I've been back at the gym again and just doing for legs, I'd probably do max 10 reps.
Yeah. I mean, you're more likely to get injured doing a heavy set of 3 than you are a heavy single. Because when you do a single, there's very little fatigue. When you've done a heavy single and then you have to do 2 or 3 more reps, each subsequent rep, more fatigue accumulates. Yeah. So that's where you're more
likely you're going to hurt yourself.
Yeah. And your weakest muscle
is
what's going to give out first.
Yeah, I've gone.
So if you're squatting and you do a max single and your lower back is your weakness,
that's the thing.
It's fine for 1 rep. Yeah. But if you do it for 4 more reps, that's going to give out. Yeah, without addressing it.
Yeah. So I think that good form.
Yeah. Knowing what your limits are, working around the injury so that you can still get movement and still do what you're trying to do. Know what any weaknesses you have are, because a lot of the time if you train your weakness, then that's going to
help.
Eliminate any risks of further injuries or making it worse.
I think.
And posture, it'll increase your posture as well.
I think that post-injury has got to be your main focus, as to why did you get the injury in the first place? Like what caused it? Because that's something caused that injury. Okay, it might be something completely out of your control, whatever, car accident, anything like that, but things would have happened in that incident that have caused you to be weak in an area, and you need to work on that.
But rather than just thinking, oh, I'm going to try this, I'm going to try that, seek out, if you can, people who have done the same, who have either had the same injury that you've had or something very similar, what they done or what they did about it, how they overcome it, and then pick their brains.
Definitely,
because they're going to have the first-hand experience on that exact
thing.
What
worked and what didn't.
They have more. They have the direct time in the trenches in that in that respect, so to speak. Rather than if you go to a doctor who might have more knowledge in the area, but they might have never actually had that injury themselves. So it's all well and good saying this is what you should do, but if they have never experienced it, then they don't know that for sure.
I think that brings me on to issues with, especially NHS physiotherapists. Sorry if you are one. And you might be a good one, but my experience of NHS physiotherapists is a classic case of, what's your injury? Right, I'll go into this filing cabinet and find the pamphlet that works for you. And it's not a be all and end all works for you kind of thing. Like, I had an ex-mother-in-law had a hip injury, and we did some of the things that were in that pamphlet, but overall it was stuff that I did with her to strengthen her glutes and hamstrings that actually helped
exactly
that physio. So you need to find a good physiotherapist who's going to be able to get you to do the right things to rehabilitate you.
They're not all physical terrorists.
No, they're not. No.
But for the most part, I think they're overrated.
I think the problem is they have so many injuries.
It's too vague because they know because it's an extremely wide sort of open spectrum of there's no direct. It's every specific of it is too vague.
It's a bit like a GP and your general practitioners have a general knowledge of
a lot of stuff,
illnesses and things like that. But overall, what do? They refer you to a specialist who knows the nitty-gritty of it. So, and I think that needs to happen within physiotherapy as well.
But even if you can get just like overwork injuries and repetitive strain sort of things. And so just say you get that in your elbows from training the same tricep exercise. You can still train your triceps with hundreds of different tricep exercises. You just have to slightly change the variation of it. A slight change, whether it's double overhand for a press down or extension or whatever. You just go reverse grip or even a neutral grip. That completely changes
how it's affecting
the angle of the joint. So then you won't get things like tendinitis, which is just an inflammation of overuse, or stuff with the shoulder. If you're constantly pressing or doing stuff in the same way, it's just going to lead to problems. But a lot of the time, where your pain is
not where it is.
Isn't what the issue is. So you could say I've got pain in my shoulder. It doesn't mean it's the shoulder. It could be your bicep. It could be your lat.
Low back,
because they join into the shoulder joint. You could have bicep tendinitis. And you're feeling it, and you're feeling
pain up here.
And you're feeling it in the shoulder. And you think, I've got a bad shoulder. So I'm just going to keep doing stuff that.
It's actually this pulling on something.
Or the bicep tendon goes all the way up into the top of the shoulder up here.
Where your pain is.
If that's inflamed.
An automatic, usually shoulder injury, people always go, it's rotator cuff. Literally straight away.
Which it rarely is.
Yeah. If you've done your rotator cuff, you've done something really, I would say that's one of the worst shoulder injuries you could have.
But it's easily rehab. Yeah. It's easy to rehab.
Easy to rehab, yeah. But
whereas a bicep tear isn't, because the shoulder, where it joins into the shoulder is a fucking complex joint.
That shoulder is a complex area. Yes.
So.
Any specific injuries that you'd want to pick out? Obviously, we talked about
like common ones.
Well,
a lot of people. I've got a bad lower back.
Yeah. So.
Well. Okay.
It's usually when you sat like this, probably.
Well, yeah, but a bad lower back could be all sorts of things. The first thing you want to ask is, have you done anything to your lower back?
Yeah. I think
have you been in an accident? Have you been stabbed in the lower back. If you have, then it's probably your lower back that is causing the problem.
Yeah.
If it's just something that's come up over time and you haven't done anything directly for that, it's going to be it's going to be posture. Usually, it's going to be almost certainly weak abdominals.
Yep.
Lack of functionality in the glutes and the hips, and the hamstrings.
Yeah.
If you've got tight lower back or weak lower back, you'll have tight and weak hamstrings. Yeah. If you've got tight and weak hamstrings, then you'll have a tight and weak lower back. Yeah. You can't have one that functions properly.
Yeah.
And the other one that doesn't. It's either they're both fine or they're both not. The glutes are slightly different because they're not quite joined to the same part of the spine.
But I feel a lot of human beings in this world have very underutilized glutes that affect your hamstrings and your lower back. If your glutes aren't firing properly, then your hamstrings and your lower back are the ones taking the brunt of it, in my opinion.
Yeah, and then they just get overworked.
Well, yeah.
But the stronger your abs are,
good strong core.
That takes off stress. That takes off any stress off your lower back. I mean, but then it could be you have bulging discs or some sort of spinal compression, which is actually fairly easy to rehab. You don't have to. If someone's going to say you need surgery because you've got a bulging disc, that's got to be your absolute last case scenario. Like, there's things you can do. You can simply decompress your spine just by hanging,
stretching,
and loading your feet with weights.
Yeah.
And it literally pulls your spine down, and then that releases it naturally. And then you've got, because your spine is made up of how many segments? Like
5.
No. How many individual vertebrae? Like 27 or 30.
20 odd. 20 odd.
You know, they all need to be treated as separate entities.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want 4 of them all together, like almost fused.
Yeah.
You need to. They need to all move.
Yeah.
It's like an analogy I hear is, imagine you've got a hill, a train with multiple carriages is going over the hill. You want them to go over each one at a time. You don't want them to all go up and then they all have to go over. That's what your spine's like.
I think people don't appreciate what the spine is, though. Like,
no, and people
the shape of it.
What is it? People think that you have to keep your spine straight the whole time. No, you don't.
No.
It's
not how it's designed. I don't want
to say the word designed. It's evolved.
Yeah, that's how our bodies are.
Yeah, to twist, to bend, to flex, to whatever.
Yeah.
So if you stop it from doing that, that's going to cause issues as well. So people who always say, "Oh, make sure you keep your back straight when you bend over," I completely disagree with that. And you will actually target your hamstrings a lot more effectively if you do have a slight flex in your back. Because if you do say a good morning, and your back is tensed, that's all in the lower back. Yeah. That's not actually in the hamstrings.
Yeah. You're not actually working the right area, yeah.
That's why whenever I do a good morning, I have a slight round. But because I know how to brace effectively, the stronger your abdominal brace, the less pressure on your spine there is. So you can do it with a slightly rounded back. Again, that just goes to people who say, well, you should never do it like that, you're going to hurt yourself. You're only going to hurt yourself if you don't know how not to hurt yourself.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people that would say that's wrong. It's like, it's not necessarily wrong. It's a different way to do it for a different purpose.
Yeah.
And I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So don't come up to me and say you should keep your back flat. As a rule of thumb, with a beginner, yes. But I wouldn't say I'm a beginner.
I wouldn't say you're a beginner doing that.
No.
So if you have a specific injury that you want us to discuss, as we say, we're not doctors, so we might not be able to diagnose your injury, but if you know what the injury is...
Yeah, it helps a lot if you know what the issue is, and you just don't know what to do for it. If you say, this hurts, I don't know why, well then we can help still, but it might be a bit more of a long process.
Yeah, because we're going to try and have to work out why it is.
Yeah. With different assessments.
Yeah, and then that might, in turn, that might lead to us referring you to a doctor, because if we don't know... Yeah. And we think that training might hinder that, and we want that to be sorted before we do anything. You can't take that as they don't know what they're doing. That's we don't want to hurt you any more than we should. Like, we want. Yeah. If we know what the problem is, then by all means we will look into how we can improve you and improve that injury. But I think main priorities are, most injuries I hear about are lower back pain. or shoulders,
Yeah.
or knees. So it's just about, as Jake said, working on the weaknesses.
Yeah.
And having
A lot of the time, it is actually a fairly easy fix.
Yeah, and I don't think everyone should go to the doctor because most problems can be worked out
with weight training,
yeah,
or with
posture training, or
which, well, I would say should be the same thing.
Yeah, you're learning good posture while you weight train. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, so hopefully that helps you. If you've got any questions or queries or comments, just hit it in the comment box below or give us a DM.
Give us a shout.
And if you want us to go into more detail, we can do that for you.
Cool.
Right, we'll see you in the next episode, team.
All right, thank you.
Bye.
Cheers.